Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Devi and this is a Yin Yoga practice for the whole body. This practice is for all levels, including beginners, and you won't need any props or any special equipment. You can be on a carpet or on top of a blanket or a yoga mat, whatever you've got. This practice will focus on the movement of energy through the meridians, the way that we experience prana, the way we experience the movement of chi in the body, and how the Yin Yoga practice kind of stimulates that awareness. So let's go ahead and get started and lie down on your back. As you lie down on your back, you'll have your feet flat on the ground and your knees bent, and come on back with your knees now coming in to rest against each other and your feet stepping out a little bit wider so they're maybe as wide as your shoulders. Let your hands rest on your belly. And start to breathe into your lower back and into your belly. Your hands can be just a slight placement below your navel. And as you breathe, imagine there's like a balloon inside of your pelvic bowl that's expanding to fill the pelvis, to fill the lower back, to fill the low belly. And now with your next inhale, begin to think about making some sound on the exhale, just a little bit more audibly, like an ujjayi exhale. And do that 2 more times, just like that ocean sound. As if you were trying to fog up a mirror. 1 more time. Really let the jaw relax. And now settling into an even breath, an even inhale and exhale through the nose. Your back body softening against the ground. Your sacrum spreading against the ground with the legs in this position. The soles of your feet spreading out against the ground. And now gently letting the eyes open up and drawing your knees in towards your chest. You can have 1 hand on each knee or wrap the arms around your legs. Maybe holding opposite wrists or forearms. And coming into a spinal twist as our first yin pose today. So, excuse me, both knees over to the right side, and you can scoot your hips left first so that you end up easily balanced on this outer right hip. And when we come into the yin spinal twist, we have choices of if the knees are right on top of each other, or if you're a little farther back with this left hip, or a little farther forward. And you have to always take care of your arm here. So if your arm ends up in a suspended position and it's not comfortable, then you might want to have a pillow or something under it, or you can just twist a little bit less, or even place a prop like a block or a pillow in between your knees. It's not really crucial what the arm and the knees are doing, and people tend to get kind of preoccupied with that. And what is important is what you're feeling in your spine, that you're twisting your spine. Your pelvis is being rotated one way as your shoulder girdle and ribs are being rotated the other way. That's the simplicity of the twist. Everything else is incidental or collateral. Everything else is collateral. 3 minutes here in spinal twist. And it may feel helpful to rest this right hand on the left knee. You may enjoy the twisted variation, left knee crossing over the right, or other twisting variations. You're welcome to explore, to experiment with the placement of your limbs and with using props. And once you settle into your twist, into your still shape, start to notice the action of your breath, the rhythm of your breath. And you can continue to draw the breath down into the bowl of the pelvis, into the lower back, the sacrum, and the low belly. Take the left arm now and making a slow exit by rolling over onto the right side. So the left arm traces up along the ground above the head and start to roll over. The arm crosses over the face as you curl up into a ball on your right side, and just rest here. Continue to feel into the body, into the breath, and especially after twisting to one side, notice what you feel in your spine and in your back body and in your waist and sacrum. Very good. Let's bring it back up to the center. And now twist to the second side. So skew your hips to the right, take the knees over to the left, and reach the right arm back to the right. in this practice of Yin Yoga, we are stretching into the deeper tissues of the body, the fascia, which is the sinewy stuff that weaves its way not only through the muscles and tapers into ligament, tapers into tendon, I should say, and ligament, and forms the joints and the joint capsules. And so as we move through the first minute of a pose, we kind of, that first sensation is usually more on the muscle level, and then we start to feel more deeply as the muscles loosen and soften. We start to feel this fascia layer. This deeper layer. And the fascia is continuous throughout the body. There's this web that weaves its way throughout this physical body, and within this web is said to be where the meridians lie, where the energetic lines, where the chi flows through. And whether you subscribe to that theory or not, it's kind of hard to deny that there is something going on the physical and mental, energetic level when we do these postures, that the mind is drawn in to the physical experience, that there's something about this practice that quiets the mind, that pulls it away from whatever busyness it might be wanting to venture into. Instead, we can just keep on allowing the mind to be drawn into the body, into what's happening here and now. And now to release, same thing. We take this right arm, trace it along the ground, bring it up over the head, and start to roll all the way onto your left side. Resting here as you curl up into a ball. And now slowly lift yourself up, press your right hand into the ground, and make your way to hands and knees and into child's pose, taking a 1-minute rest here in child's pose. Feeling in the lower back after that twist, feeling the spine after twisting to both sides. The tops of the feet and the fronts of the shins spreading along the ground. And your breath moving in and out of your back body. And releasing and coming into dragon pose with the left leg forward. So the yin lunge is called dragon pose, left leg forward to begin. And here you might be having your hands on either side of the front foot. If you have blocks, a lot of people like to do this high version of dragon pose with the hands on some blocks. So that's an option you may enjoy. Hands could also be on the inside of the foot. You could walk this left foot farther out to the side. So we will do 1.5 minutes in the high version, and then we'll move it low to a low dragon pose, which is sometimes called gecko. So that will be in the lunge for 3 minutes total. And if you just have a favorite lunge variation that you want to work with for the whole 3 minutes, feel free to do that, to experiment. And so the line of fascia we're focusing on here is this area from the right knee across the front of the thigh, the front of the hip, and even up into the low belly, perhaps, depending on how high you're lifted and how much you're in a back bend. And then there's also maybe some back sensation going on, a back bend in the right side of the spine especially, and the right side of the sacrum. And now taking your hands both on the inside of the foot, and you might just stay here, or you might come down onto the elbows, maybe just one elbow, that's fine. If it feels better to you to do this a bit tilted with the right hip down more than the left, that's totally fine. And then blocks, if you want to use those, if you have them available, can come under the elbows like so, or whatever kind of support you have that's firm enough to support your weight here. It doesn't have to be yoga blocks. Some people like to walk this left foot out to the side, make some space between the foot and the arms, and you are free to experiment with that as well, and maybe even letting the left knee open out to the side. And slowly releasing, and step back to downward dog. Lift up the hips and find a little movement in the legs, bending one knee at a time. Feeling the difference between your right leg, your left leg, the right thigh and the left thigh after doing it on one side. And now let's go ahead and switch it up. Second side, right leg forward. Dragon pose. Beginning with the more upright version, hands on the floor, maybe both on the inside, maybe on top of blocks, or maybe on either side of the front foot. And some people will rest their chest on their thigh here. Some people will have this front foot a little farther back. It's all in the realm of possibility. None of it's right or wrong, as long as you're feeling it in the front of the left thigh this time. So that's what stays consistent, is the place where we want to feel the sensation, the line between the left knee, over the front of the thigh and the hip, and perhaps into the low belly. taking both hands now on the inside of the foot, walking this right foot out to a place that feels right for you and coming down onto the elbows. Or if it's too much to come on the elbows, use a prop or stay up on straight arms. And slowly, slowly coming up, stepping back, downward dog. And dropping the knees, coming into child's pose and resting here 1 minute. And slowly come up, moving into Yogi's Choice back bending time. So you can come onto your back and do a supported bridge if you have a block to slide under the hips. You can do this with bent legs or straight legs. And if you want to do something without a block or just choose a different option, there is the Sphinx pose, the seal pose, or the saddle pose. So those of you with more experience or flexibility could sit on the feet and perhaps lean back on the hands or come all the way back or sit on top of your feet. And this is certainly not for everyone. So that's only for those of you who've explored that pose before and know that it works for you. And then your other choice is going to be this one on the elbows and forearms, the Sphinx pose. So 3 minutes in your choice of a yin back bend. And if you're in this Sphinx pose, you're resting your weight on your elbows and placing the elbows in such a way that you can really just rest into the bones and you don't have to use your muscles of your arms to hold yourself up. And whichever back bend you're in, it's always interesting to experiment with the distance between the legs, how wide or how narrow your legs are, which always has an effect on what you're feeling, sometimes a profound effect. There's not one way that's better or worse, it's just a big change of what you feel. So play around with that if you like, and then find a place to become still and to let the mind start to settle into awareness of the body, awareness of what you're feeling, and observing how the breath moves and circulates through this body, through the lungs, the belly, the spine. In the ancient yoga traditions and Qigong, Chinese movement, there's a commonality in how energy is worked with, how, whether you're calling it Qi in the Chinese practices or Prana in the Indian practices, there is a way that the mind is able to manipulate energy in the body by feeling it as breath. Even though we don't technically breathe into our spine, we don't technically breathe into our pelvis, that's not anatomically possible. If we think about breathing into our spine, if you think about breathing into the bowl of your pelvis, this is the way of directing Qi, directing Prana into this part of the body. This is how the human mind tends to be most effective about moving energy. We bring awareness to a part of the body by imagining that we're breathing into it. This is a powerful practice. One more minute here. If you're in the Sphinx and you want to have a little more sensation, you could lift up on straight arms for this last minute into seal pose. Or just stay right where you are. And now coming out of your pose. So if you're in the Sphinx or seal, just rest your forehead on your hands. If you're in a saddle pose, then come on up and make your way into child's pose. And if you're on your back in that supported bridge, then slide the block out and rest on the back. So taking 1 minute of rest here. Maybe on the back, maybe in child's pose, maybe on your belly. And slowly coming up now and coming into your choice of a groin pose today. So I'm going to give you 3 choices. There are 3 main straddle poses, they're called, or groin poses, and they are butterfly pose with the soles of the feet together coming forward, the dragonfly pose with the legs wide and coming forward, or the frog pose, starting out in a wide knee child's pose, and then you can come down on the elbows and then widen the knees to whatever distance feels good for a stretch of the inner thighs. So all of these postures, the idea is to stretch the inner thighs, and you have choices because everyone's hips are different about which of these poses is going to work best for you. You can use pillows under the seat. You could have the wall versions of these postures. I just did a wall practice on the website that works with all the different straddles and different wall poses. that you could check out. So 3 minutes here. And I know that some of you like to do multiple variations in the same 3-minute chunk. So I'm going to give you a halfway point if you want to do perhaps a butterfly and a dragonfly, which is what I think I'm going to do, or any combination of two poses. And we are now at 1.5 minutes, halfway through. So if you want to move to a second choice, go for it, or just stay right where you are if you want to do a whole 3 minutes in one place. And the reason I give you these choices is because people experience yoga postures very differently in different bodies. And if I was to take a room full of yoga students of 30 people and ask them where they feel this pose, for instance, about 1/3 of them might feel it in the hamstrings the most, and another 1/3 of them might feel it in the inner groin the most, and another handful of them will just mostly have knee pain. And then there's always people who feel something completely different than everyone else. So this is what's important in yoga, is that we know where we're feeling a pose and if it is doing the thing that we want it to be doing, because if it's not, then we have so many other wonderfully crafted yoga poses to choose from. That's why there's such a plethora of yoga poses. The bounty of yoga. Slowly now release whatever pose you're in and come into a nice long 1-minute relaxation on the back, taking this time to feel the rebound of the pose, the inner thighs, whatever else might be happening inside of you. Hands could be on the belly or at the sides or wherever is comfortable. Bend the knees now, draw them in toward your chest. And lift your head up toward your knees. Release your head back down, roll to one side, and come up to sit for half butterfly. Left leg forward, right leg bent. Come forward over the left leg. Take the time to arrange any props under your seat if you want to sit on a pillow or a folded blanket or something. Hands could be on either side of the leg or on the inside of the leg. So you can play around with this forward angle that you're making and see what feels good in your body today. You can hold on to your foot if that's convenient, but if it feels like you're really reaching and grasping and pulling to get there, then that might not be the energy of what we want in a yin practice today. So you can decide if it just makes more sense to rest your hands on your leg or on the floor, or to use a strap. Some people like to use a strap, but again, if you're in a position where you're having to like pull or not be able to relax your arms, then it might not help the body to be as relaxed as we want it to be in Yin Yoga. We really primarily want the sensation that we're softening into gravity, relaxing into gravity, surrendering. Slowly releasing the first side of half butterfly. Feel the spine coming upright, feel the head coming up on top of the spinal column, and slowly change legs. Right leg forward, left leg bent. Making your way over the right leg. Again, maybe you're angled directly toward the leg, maybe you're slightly inside the leg. And slowly releasing now and making your way into a Shavasana. Make yourself totally comfortable here with any additional props or clothing to keep yourself warm. Coming into a long rebound from our whole practice. This time to feel into the whole body and all of the places that have been stretched and stimulated. Feeling the effects of all of the chi, the prana, that's been moved through this body. Maybe there's tingling happening, maybe sensations of heat or pressure or fullness. Whatever it is, whatever draws the mind in at this moment. As this energy moves through the meridians, and as the mind is drawn into this deeply inward experience, there is an automatic tendency to relax, to become more calm. Without effort. Without trying to make it happen. This is what the surrender part is about. Surrendering into this experience of this moment. And now gently starting to wiggle your fingers and toes. Inhale your breath. Reach your arms overhead and stretch down long through the legs. And exhaling as you bend your knees, rolling slowly over to one side and making your way up into a comfortable seat. And that's our practice today. chanting Om together one time to complete. Closing the eyes, palms together in front of your heart. Sit with your spine tall and inhale. Om. Namaste. I hope you enjoyed this practice, and if you did, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other yoga videos. And if you felt anything in this practice that you think is going to help you through your day, let me know about it. Put it in the comments below, or of course let me know if you have any questions. I'd love to hear your questions or your comments, and I will see you next time.